What's up, families, and welcome to another episode of Family Mojo, where it's not magic, but it sure is a lot of work. And so, with these Family Mojo episodes, what our hope, our desire, what our prayer is that we can kind of drop in some golden nuggets, some stuff that Deb and I have learned along the way in the last 25 years of parenting, and 23 years. Deb would say she's a year ahead of me in ministry. 24 years that she's been doing kids ministry, student ministry, college ministry, and so we just want to pass that on. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about today, is some healthy boundaries. As parents, we need healthy boundaries. Our kids, our students will never admit that they need or want boundaries, but we know, and they do too, deep down inside they know that they need boundaries, they need guardrails in lives. They're just never going to admit to it. And so that's great, because as parents, we're not trying to be their friends. Friends is a plus. Friends is a cherry on top. What we're called to do is to be parents, is to discipline them or disciple them, to give them boundaries and guardrails, disciple them, train them, coach them, and then hopefully, well, it's not even hopefully, it comes, that we let them go to make the decisions as adults do, when they grow up. And so here's what we want to talk about today. Setting up boundaries, setting up those guardrails. And I would say, this is probably leans towards teenagers, but it's probably all of our kids. And I think there's some stuff that we could probably take away from it too. And so how do we do that? Or what are some of the boundaries that we can set, especially with our teenagers? And here's number one. And I've talked about this a little bit, because it kind of stems from my childhood growing up. Number one, the boundaries I think that we need to kind of set for our teenagers and our kids as well is to speak with respect. And that's something that there's a lack of, I think, in today's world and society, because so many people model that it's kind of okay to say whatever you want, whenever you want. And I would just say, that's not true. When I was growing up, my grandmother was, a big lady, and she was raised on a farm in the Midwest, and respect was a big thing, When I grew up and I was an adolescent or a teenager, I had a lot of family and friends and gangs, and respect is a huge thing. And so we need to, as parents, continue to train and allow our kids to understand how important it is to not only have respect and be respectful, but to speak with respect. So I would say, basically when they are being disrespectful, to be honest, to call them on it, to let them know how their words impact you, and to remind them that, and I say this a lot to my kids, and I don't know if it's, helpful or true or, healthy, but I think it's so, because this phrase that I'm about to, share with you, it kind of like makes them think, because I think our kids, our teenagers especially, get caught up in this pattern, this, way of doing things, especially around their friends, and then they want to bring that home. And again, I tell my kids all the time, this is the phrase, I'm not your friend. Like, I am your parent. And so therefore, with that, I have earned the right to be respected. I've earned the right. As just being your parent, I've earned the right. And again, there's more to it, but know that you've earned the right that they would have to speak to you respectfully. And when they don't, remind them, you're not their friend. And not saying that they should be speaking disrespectfully to their friends, but remind them that you're not their friend, you're their parent. And that's not going to be tolerated. And again, that comes with, some healthy consequences when they do speak to you respectfully. But I would say if we could kind of like be consistent in that, it would give our kids a leg up when they graduate and when they go into the workforce and when they're around other adults. I just think it's a common courtesy, and it speaks to character when we can train our kids, we can discipline our kids, disciple our kids, to speak respectfully to not only people that are older, but their peers as well. The second thing is this, is to be honest. And sometimes with our teenagers, that's kind of hard. I think we've talked about this too. sometimes our past, when our kids do things that we've done in our past and we don't want to bring up our stuff, and so we kind of like skirt around the issues, and there might be white lies that we would tell, not to bring up some of the things that we've been unsuccessful or we've failed in. But again, failure is a part of growth, and so is to be honest with our kids. When our kids make bad decisions, we need to let them know that they've made a bad decision. It's not sweeping it under the carpet or hiding it or just allowing them to get away with it. That's not real life. When they graduate, when they move on, when they become adults, when they're adulting, there's going to be people in their lives that are going to call them on the stuff that they do incorrectly. And so we need to model that. We need to train them. We need to coach them that when they do something wrong, man, you're going to say something. You're going to point it out. You care so much about them that you have observed this habit or this thing, and it's wrong. And you would like to speak into it and have a conversation. See, the thing is like our kids and our teenagers need to know that this is a safe place. We're not going to condemn or shame them, but we need to let them know that we are going to call them on their stuff, just as much as we need people in our lives to do that for us. And then to have a conversation about it. And again, it's not the end all, the world's going to, implode and stuff like that. No, this is just something that you want to speak into so that if there's an opportunity to do it differently in the future, that they have a basis, there's a foundation that they can reach back into and kind of like uncover to help them make a better or more informed decision when it comes up in their lives later on. And lastly, real quick, is we need to instill in our kids that everything that they do, that commitment is important, but they give everything that they do their best. Again, I just think that, that was something modeled, from, the baby boomers because, of their situation, and, they strive to do things, well, and blah, 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 and, and all that. And I think through a couple of, generations that have preceded them, or come after them, I should say, like that, it's just like, okay, it's okay if you, and again, ready? It's okay when they mess up. It's better for them to mess up under our watch so that we can, again, disciple, train, and coach them, and have those hard conversations sometimes to kind of correct behavior, thought processes, and stuff like that. But I think that we also need to continue to, not model, but to speak into that everything that our kids do, that they give it 110%. I think that it's important that, again, we model it and we speak into it because our kids are, let's be honest, it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to quit these days. And then every emotion that comes with it, quitting and stuff like that. And so it's not, a part of it is being our kids' biggest cheerleader, especially when we know that they can, but to really push and to strive for them to do their very best in everything that they commit to and that's in front of them. And again, and if they, find that, it fails or they're unsuccessful or it just doesn't work out, man, that's just another great conversation that we can have with our students and our kids to go to kind of like process through like, well, why? And then come up with a game plan. Like if, this happens again, what could we do differently? Or, and again, it goes back to being honest, maybe it's just something that, they're cut out to do or be a part of. And that's just what we need to do for our kids. We don't need to overinflate them, to do things that, they're not good at, they don't have any interest in. We don't need to live vicariously through them. We need to be honest. We need to speak into their lives. We need to call them on the things that they're doing wrong. And we need to train them. We need to show them. We need to encourage them to give their very best to everything. And when it does fail, or when it goes south, or, there's an issue, that you're the safe place, or that they can come back and talk about their experience, and that you will help lead and guide and direct them into doing something different or doing it better. Thanks again for tuning in to Family Mojo. Hopefully this kind of helps and gives you a little bit of insight. For me, it always does. See you guys next week. Beautiful.